Okay, so we have our collar band and our collar attached to each other, and my collar band facing here. I am now going to take the collar band and attach it to the collar band facing. This becomes a sandwich seam. I am going to take my collar and attach it to my collar band right sides together, but my collar itself is sandwiched in between the two. And just like your cuff had to go around your wrist so that we had to pull out that edge to allow for that turn of cloth, the collar has to go around your neck. And so as you pin this, you are going to align the top and the bottom edge of your collar band, but that front edge needs to be extended out that 1/8 of an inch and possibly even just a little bit more. Because the collar band itself is so much longer than the cuff was, and it's not on a straight grain, there's on a little bit of bias here, a little bit of a curve, your fabric may give enough more that you have to actually pull that out a little bit more than 1/8 of an inch. And so you're going to pin one end, then pin the other with that extension on the front towards those center front edges. The top of the collar band and the bottom of the collar band aligning. Center back, you should have a clip, and center back, align those clips because you want center back to meet at center back. Then you will have a little bit of extra fabric here that you have to, oops, I missed the piece there. You'll have that little bit of extra that you are then going to pull and stretch again to fit into that space so that it takes that collar and makes it roll around the person's neck, that it lays as smoothly as it pulls around. Again, you can take advantage of your cork top, pin it in place. You can work with the buddy and have somebody pull it for you, or you can just kind of go in sections and hand pull it yourself. But you want to make certain that you pull and stretch that collar band to fit now the collar band facing that has been pulled out so that this will turn and roll around the neck. And so if you watch, I am pulling this between the two and then grabbing with my thumb and finger where the pin's going to go. That allows me to do this by myself without a person pulling on it. It takes a little bit more time and to do it that way, but you can do it alone if you don't have somebody to hang on to that and give that pull for you, pull that edge out for you. So you get one side ready to go, and if you look at it, it is going to tend to want to curl or roll just a little bit. That is what you want. You want it to tend to want to roll around that person's neck. If you look at your guide sheet, it is going to tell you, just like it did for the cuff, on your collar band facing side, it's going to tell you to actually fold that up at 5/8 of an inch and stitch that down in place. We are going to do the same thing on the collar band that we did on the cuff. We are going to leave that edge turned down and terminate that seam at 5/8 of an inch, exactly like you did with your cuff. So we're going to leave this piece floating free so that we can enclose that corner again. So up till now, the steps have been very, very similar to your cuff. That edge that has been pulled out to favor, you can do the same thing we did before as well. If it helps you to trim that down so that your collar band facing seam allowance matches your collar band seam allowance, you can certainly do that. And for lots of people, it's easier to trim it than to change the seam allowance from a 5/8 to 6/8 or a little bit more, depending upon the stretch of your fabric. And so you can just trim that extra out and line those up. Okay, so now it's ready to go. We are going to stitch this, starting again with a terminated seam. So when I drop the needle in, I'm going to drop it 5/8 of an inch from the neckline edge and 5/8 of an inch from that front edge. So I'm going to drop my foot in and my needle in about right there to start to sew and to sew around that edge. So now we'll go to the sewing machine.